final video, and now we'll be talking about some basic movement code, moving forward and backward, some turns, and the most basic loops. And this is moving forward and backward. And so we'll be using the move steering block. And as you see here, there's a negative sign here. And this is because when you have negative power and negative speed, you can see its arrow is going down, meaning that's going backwards. And it's vice versa here. If you have a positive number for your power or speed, you'll be going forward. And you can set it for the amount of rotations on whenever you want. And so this is moving forward. And this is moving backward. Showing you the three most important turns: the point turn, the curve turn, and the pivot turn. And so first, the point turn is when one wheel moves forward and the other moves backward, causing it to spin in place. The pivot turn is when one wheel is not moving at all and the other is, causing it to kind of be like a basketball pivot. And finally, a curve turn. Both wheels are moving in the same direction, but one is slower, causing it to kind of curve like how a circle would on the outside. And this is a quick video showing you what they are. I'll be showing you some different turns, and I'll be showing them to you. And so there are three main turns. There is a point turn, a pivot turn, and a curve turn. And so I'll start with a point turn. So I'll be using a move tank block. And a point turn is where one motor moves forward and the other moves backward. So I'll do 50. No, I won't do 50. I'll do 75, negative 75. And I'll put it on 6 rotations, and let's see what happens. And this is going to be a point turn. So as you just saw, in this point turn, it was kind of spinning in place. And that is because since one motor is moving forward and the other is moving backwards, it will spin. Next is a pivot turn. It's kind of like a basketball pivot where one foot stays forward and the other one moves. For this, one wheel will have to be at 0 because it can't move, and the other will be turning. So I'll run it. And so, as you just saw here, for the pivot turn, it moved in a much larger area because one of the wheels had to stay in place. And so finally, I'll be doing a curve turn. And this is when both motors are going the same direction, but one is slower than the other, causing it to kind of turn. Causing it to turn around. Causing it to turn not in place, but while moving forward. Kind of like when your car turns on a stop sign to another road. And I'll run it. So as you just saw here, this took the most time to complete, and this had to use the most distance as it could. And because of this, a lot more time was taken up. And those are the main turns. I'll show you a quick animation on how the different turns will look. First, this is the point turn, and it will spin in place. Next is the curve turn, and it will almost rotate on 90-degree angles, kind of like this. And finally is the curve turn. The curve turn will kind of go in a circle. So if this is your robot, this rectangle over here, it'll go around in a circle before it reaches its final destination. To you guys, loops. And so loops, there are three main types of loops. There's an infinite loop, a time loop, and a count loop. And in the following video, I'll explain to you what these loops are, what they can be used for, and how you can identify them. You guys the three most basic loops in FLL. And those are the infinite loop, the time loop, and the count loop. So first, I'll first show you what a loop looks like. This is what it is. Then next, inside of the loop, I'll be putting in a move tank block and using a pivot turn. So it'll be very easy to read. Oh my bad. And I'll decrease the speed so it'll be a lot easier for you guys to see. I'll make it 30 instead of 75. So, first is the infinite loop, or as it's called here, the unlimited loop. In this, your robot will keep on doing what's inside of the loop until you stop it manually, or you do it from the computer. I'll show you an example of this, so I'll run it. As you've just seen, instead of the robot stopping by itself, I had to go up to the robot and stop it manually. Because as an unlimited or infinity loop goes, you have to stop it or else it'll keep on running. So next, I'll be doing a time loop. So if you press this button, it'll bring you to all these different settings. And so I'll go to time. And you know it's time because if you hover over this, it'll say, and these are both stopwatches. So in this little input over here, I'll make it 9 seconds. So it'll be a lot easier for you to see. And now I'll run it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So as you've just seen, after 9 seconds, the robot had just stopped by itself. And it'd keep on doing whatever was inside the loop, even if it was done more than 9 times, or however the amount is. It had kept on doing whatever's inside the loop until that 9 seconds was over. And so finally, the count loop. The count loop is represented by a little hashtag. And a count loop basically means that whatever the number of counts that you put into the input, it'll run that code that many amount of times. So if I put in 7, the code inside will run 7 times. So I'll run it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So as you've just seen, the robot has run 7 times. If you're keeping count, at least. And those are the 3 most basic and probably important loops that you'd be using as a beginner. And so that does it. And so those were the main loops. And we'll quickly recap what we learned in this final episode or video. So we learned the different types of code and what they do, parts of a green action block, move steering and its importance, and coding movement and loops. And so some helpful sites are EV3 lessons, so they give you a lot of different lessons on what you've learned. Mindstorms, where you could, like I had said before, and what you should download, and LabVIEW, where you're going to be coding. Thank you. And thanks for listening.